So welcome back to how to create an e-commerce website. Remember, this is a multi-part video, so if you missed the earlier part of the video, I will put a link in the description. But in this video, we're going to look at how do we customize WooCommerce. We're also going to be looking at customizing the storefront. But let's look into more details, specifically what you'll find in this video to see if you want to stick around. So in addition to customizing WooCommerce, we're going to look more specifically at the store address. How do we change and update our store address? We're going to look at the currency options, product settings, the measurement, setting your tax, payment settings, and email settings. We're going to look specifically at setting your theme options, and this is the Astra theme. So we're going to go into the global settings and set the colors, typography, buttons, header, the logo. We're going to look at the icon that's going to represent our website, the primary header and menu. Customizing the footer, there are some WooCommerce settings that's just specific to the theme options and the menu. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, let's get into the video and learn more how you could create your e-commerce website. Let's get started. Here's the back end of our website, and to begin customizing our WooCommerce settings, let's come down to WooCommerce and then let's choose settings. So the first thing you do is update the address for your store. So we can just comment in address line 1 and enter our address. So I'll go ahead and enter my address. So there you go. I have my address entered. We can come down on the page and you could select your selling location. You could decide to sell to all countries or just sell to the countries except a specific country or sell to the specific countries of your choice. But in this case, I will just say sell to all countries. In addition to that, we of course could ship to all countries you sell to, or you could go to ship to specific countries only, or you could disable shipping. But again, I will leave it as is, where I'll ship to all countries you sell to. Here we could set the default customer location. I'll leave mine as shop base address. Now, for you to set your tax, you will need to enable this option. Once you enable tax, it will then add a new menu option to the top. I will enable it for now and we will go into more details about the tax. As you come down, you could decide to set your currency. In my case, since I'm going to be setting this for Trinidad and Tobago, I'm going to change the currency to Trinidad and Tobago dollars. So I will type it in and choose Trinidad and Tobago dollar. Once you've set the option that you would like, you could click Save Changes. One of the things I might have skipped is enabling coupon. If you're going to be using coupon, you want to have the option selected. So at the checkout page, you'll get this option. You could decide to calculate coupon discount sequentially, which will then add the coupon discount on top of the others. I will leave that unchecked and choose Save Changes. With the changes saved, you will now notice that tax is one of the options that is provided in this case. But let's move on to look at the other options. Let's look at product settings. So here we are in customizing the products for our e-commerce page. The first thing we want to do is choose the page that we're going to have our item displayed on. So in most cases, it will default to a shop page, but you can choose another page, but we'll leave ours at the shop page. In addition to that, you want to set the cart behavior. This will determine when you choose add to cart, do you go directly to the cart page or are you able to continue shopping? So if you check this option, it will go directly to the cart. But in our case, we want customers to continue shopping in the event that they want something else. But we would look at how we could add a direct buy button that could go along with this add to cart. So it could cater for both customer behavior. Here's where we could choose a placeholder image. So if you have a particular image you want to represent your products, if you don't have a default image, we could choose one and add the link here. We could also choose the weight unit if we want to choose kg or if we want to choose pounds. In my case, I'm going to change mine to pounds. Similarly, for your dimensions unit, you could choose between centimeters or millimeters or inches or yard. I'm going to choose inches. We could also decide if we want to enable reviews on our page, and this obviously makes sense for us. A lot of people make their decision from reading reviews. That's one of the reasons so much people go to Amazon to check reviews before they buy. This will eventually allow persons to trust your website more by reading your reviews. So definitely leave that on. You could decide if you want reviews can only be left by a verified owner. I will uncheck this for now so that other persons could still review the product. You could decide if you want the star ratings as part of the reviews. I will leave these checks. So most of these is set. I will save the changes. All right, the next item I want us to look at is setting taxes. So if we go to tax, and here we could choose different tax that we want to set. So for example, we could decide, do we want our taxes to be included in the prices, or do we want to enter our prices exclusive of tax? And this will determine when you're actually entering each individual product. All right, so in my case, I would say no, I will enter prices exclusive of tax. Also, do you want to calculate tax based on the customer shipping address, or do you want it based on the billing address or the base location? I'm going to choose the shipping address. So here we could decide if we want to set a tax class for our items, and of course it could be based on the different taxes that you may set. These are the default that comes with WooCommerce. We will look at how can we change those or create our own, but we'll leave it as shipping tax class based on cart items. You could also decide if you want to have a rounding off of your taxes for your subtotal instead of rounding per line. I will leave it as is. Here we could decide if we want to display the prices in the shop excluding tax, or do we want it inclusive of tax. Let's leave it excluding taxes. Similarly, you could display your price during the cart and checkout. Similarly, you could display prices during the cart and checkout excluding tax or including tax. Again, we'll leave it as is. Here we could have a price display suffix. So in the event, let's say we had including taxes, we could now come and say price includes VAT. So that will be listed after the price in the shopping cart. But in our case, let's leave this out for now, and we will change this back to excluding tax. We could also identify if the display tax total should be itemized or as a single total. Let's leave it itemized so persons could see the individual tax that for each product. So let's save the changes. Let's look at how we could create a tax of our own. Let's go to standard rates and we will choose insert row. So the first thing we want to do is to locate the 2-digit country code representing our country. So if you hover your mouse over this question mark, you will get an example. So for example, for United States, it would be US. In my cases, I'm using Trinidad and Tobago. It's actually TT. We could also indicate a state, or we could leave it blank. In my cases, I'm going to leave it blank so it's relevant to all the states in Trinidad and Tobago. So here we enter the rate of the tax. So in my case, the sales tax here in Trinidad and Tobago is 12.5%, and you could include the extra zeros because it goes up to 4 decimal place. You could give the name to the tax. I'm going to call mine VAT. You could also set a priority, especially if you have more than one tax that is applicable. You could ensure that the tax that is applied first has a priority 1, and then you could add a second tax and put a priority 2 for that tax. Let's just save the tax. Now let's look at the shipping settings. So here is where we could add different shipping zones for the different locations in your country. Let's look at clicking add shipping zone. So give the zone a name. So for example, I'll call this zone local, and you will choose the region. So I'm just going to look for Trinidad and Tobago. And we can now add a shipping method. So if we click add shipping method, we could decide between flat rate, free shipping, or a local pickup, or you could add others as well. So I'm going to choose flat rate. I'm also going to add a free shipping and a local store pickup. Now we could customize each of these. So let's come to flat rate and choose edit. Here we could put the cost of our flat rate. So for example, I'm going to give a flat rate of $50 for the regular delivery. Let's edit the free shipping, and we can now set a criteria for a free shipping. Let's click the drop down, and we could say you need to spend a minimum order amount to get this free shipping. So for example, I would say you need to spend a minimum of $300 to get this shipping. And then I'll click Save Changes. And local pickup. You could choose Edit. We could leave this as free, but we could change the title and we could call this Store Pickup. Let's save the changes. Now you may want to differentiate between two different flat rates. So for example, you could come and call this regular shipping, and let's say you decide that this probably is 5 to 7 days, and you can put that in bracket, and we could leave this as the same $50. And then we could add another flat rate shipping method. We could move it up, and let's call this one next day shipping. And let's give this a cost of $75. Okay, so we now have our 4 shipping method. We have a next day shipping for $75. We have a regular shipping, which takes 5 to 7 business days. We have a free shipping that you now need to spend up to $300 to get it. And then you have a store pickup that is of no cost. All right, so we'll see how this look in the cart when we're looking to checkout. Let's move on to setting our payment options. So here's where we would set our payment gateways and payment options. You have 3 offline options such as direct bank transfer, check payments, and cash delivery. You could also set up some of the other popular online payment gateways like PayPal or Stripe. I'm going to be setting up an online payment gateway that is specific for the Caribbean and parts of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to do that in a later module. But let's move on to the email settings. So here's where you will see the default emails that WooCommerce will use to manage your orders. So you have things like your new orders or cancel orders or your refund orders and so on. Each of them could be adjusted by clicking the manage button. You could then decide to change the recipient email or the subject or the email headings and so forth for each of the default emails, but we will leave this as is and just click the button to go back to the other emails. Let's scroll down on the page and you'll notice you could change information like the from name, the from address, and most importantly, you could also change the base color so that it matches your color scheme for your brand. I'm going to update mine. So I'm going to change my base color and I will paste the color code into the box and save the changes. There are some other integration and advanced settings you could change, but for now, if we make these specific changes, I would say we have most of the things we need to launch our WooCommerce page. Let's go on to how we could add different products for our page. To do so, we'll go to products and choose add new. All right, so the first thing you want to do is to add the product name. We'll have a brief description for the product, and there are different types of product that we could actually add. So that's the first thing you want to consider in terms of, is this going to be a simple product, a group product, which means you have more than one products grouped as one sale item. It could also be an external or an affiliate product, like something you're selling on Amazon and you want to link it to your store. You also could have a variable product. For example, it comes in different colors or in different size or shape, and we will look at an example of that case. But let's assume we were going to be doing a simple product, and let's call this Sales Manager t-shirt. Let's add some sort of brief description for the t-shirt. So I'm just going to add some text representing the Sales Manager t-shirt. So I've just copied some information about it, and you know, it's a men's premium t-shirt and with some details and so on. So as you scroll down, you could then decide on including the price. So let's say that this t-shirt was $25. But it's good to have a sales price for the t-shirt so that it's give the perception of value. So for example, let's say the t-shirt, then let's make it $30, and let's say the sales price is $25. Of course, we're going to indicate that it's taxable, and we had included those taxes that we had done. So we had done a standard tax, so we leave that as is. We could come to inventory, and here's where we could enter a SKU number. So let's just call this one 1400. You could decide if you want to manage the stock. So in case if you want to say we have 20 in stock, and do you want to allow back order? Let's leave it as is. Do you want to have a low stock threshold? We could leave it as 2, or we could decide, hey, let's get a reminder when it gets to 5. Now, if you only want this item to be sold one at a time, you could enable this option, but we will leave it unchecked so that someone could decide to buy, 20 t-shirts if they want to. Let's come to shipping, and here's where we could indicate the weight of the t-shirt and the dimensions of the t-shirt. So for this example, I'm just going to say, it's 1 pound. I'll just use it as an example. And you could decide if you want to have these linked to other products. You could have an upsell option. So here you might have a more expensive t-shirt, one with better quality. You could then choose that as an upsell option. Or this t-shirt may go great with another jeans. You could then choose that as a cross-sell option, that you would want to buy this t-shirt and the jeans as well. You could place that option here. But we're going to come down to attributes, and we could decide if you're going to have different attributes for this particular t-shirt, which may be the different sizes or so for that this t-shirt might come in. But in that case, that's where the variable product will come in, and we will look at that because we can convert this to a variable product so we could see the difference. So here you have the product short description. In some cases, you could just use, let's say, the first sentence or the first section of your longer description, and you could use that as your product short description. On the right of the page is where you will categorize the product. So in our case, we have a category here for t-shirts. If you didn't see the category you're looking for, you could create a new category, or you could have, in the product section, you'll see the option there to create a new category as well. So let's leave this as t-shirt. We could come down and we could choose a tag for the product. So for example, if you wanted to have specific types or categories outside of the product category. So for example, we could call this sales, and then I could click add. You might also want to use it for your brands. So if this was a particular type of brand, let's say it was Levi, and then we could choose add, so that it's not only a sale type t-shirt, but it's also the brand, let's say it's Levi. If you come down is where we could now add our product image or product gallery. So we could click on set product image, and let's upload a file. All right, so once it's uploaded, you could also include an alternate text. And in my case, I'm just going to copy the title text, and let's choose set product image. All right, if you had additional images, you could choose it in the product gallery. So I'm just going to leave this one for now, and we could scroll up and let's choose publish. All right, so that's how you would add a simple product. Let's look at how we could add a variable product. But before we do so, I would like us to add some attributes, and let's look at that. So if we come over in that product section, and we'll see categories, tags, and attributes. Let's click on attributes. So the first attribute we want to add is sizes. So let's say size, and the slug will use the same name, and we'll click add attribute. So on the right, we now have the attributes here. Let's choose configure terms. So here is now asking us to add a new size. All right, so let's enter some new sizes. I'm going to enter from small, medium, large, extra large, and so forth. You will just enter the name, the slug, and a description. So let's do that. Okay, so just like this, we have a capital S for small, small s for the slug, and just a description that just says small. And I click add new size. So now I'm going to add some other sizes. I'm going to add large, extra large, and so on. So I've entered all my additional sizes. So I have some medium, large, all the way down to XXL. Let's look at adding some additional attributes. Let's choose attributes again. And this time I'm going to add color. And then just choose add attribute. Similarly, I'll choose configure terms next to color. And I'm just going to add some colors like white, black, navy, and so on. Now let's go and change that simple product t-shirt we added into a variation that we could now choose these different variations. Let's go to all products. Here was the last product we added, which was this sales manager t-shirt. So I'm just going to choose it and select edit. And I'm now going to change it from a simple product to a variable product. Now I can come down to attributes. So to set our attributes, we will come where it says custom product attributes. Click the drop down arrow there, and we could choose the one that we're looking for. Let's start with color. We'll choose add, and then select the color from the values box. Click the drop down arrow there, or just click in the box, and we're going to choose white and gray. We'll then select the option that says used for variations. Then we'll come back and choose size in this case and select add. Let's come down to sizes, click in the values box, and we're just going to choose small, medium, and large. And select the option that says use for variations and click save attributes. Now let's come down to variations for us to go and set those variations. And we have the option to add the variations, or we could create variations from all the attributes. We'll choose this option and we'll then choose go. It will give you a warning, just ensuring that you understand depending on the amount of variations, it could be quite a bit of variations created, but the maximum is 50. We don't have that much to create. Alright, so it tells us we have 6 variations added. Let's choose OK. And now if we click on the expand option, we could now come and set the image for each of our variations. So for example, we have gray. If we click on the upload an image icon, we could then go and upload image relevant to that image. So I'm going to do that now. So here's a t-shirt we'll use. I will use the same information for the alternate text, and I'll set variation image. So here's where you would enter the price, but you could also select that price for all the products, especially if you have a lot of variations. So if you click the drop down arrow here and where it says price, and you could say set regular price, click on go, choose the regular price, and let's say the regular price, we're going to set it as $30 and click OK. And let's then say OK. Alright, so that will now set the regular price for each of the items for $30. We will now be able to set the image for each of the colors and the variations. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to set the variation for the white. Alright, so I have the image set for all of the variation and the regular price. I could also set a sales price for all of the variations. So we could say set sales price, click on go. I'll choose 25 since the regular price is $30, and I'll click OK. Alright, we could also set our product gallery images as well. So I'm going to just add that one to the product gallery since I have the additional white one already as a product image. And I can now save it. Let's preview it and see how it looks. So here is the t-shirt. We could see that it's on sale. We have the regular price and the sales price listed. We could come down and we have the option to choose the colors, and we have the option to choose the size. So if we change the color to gray and we could then choose the size, it will change the default image representing that image. And of course we have the description below, and we have other related item that WooCommerce automatically selected for us. So let's now look at customizing the front end of our shop. We already see the front end is looking very good, but we could make some tweaks that suits us. Let's look at how we could do that. So from the window that you're in, you could simply go to customize. You could also go to the back end, and if you come down to appearance, you could choose customize from there as well. Let's choose customize. The first thing we'll look at is how we could update our global settings. If we click on global, we have the options of changing our typography, our font. Let's click on it and we'll change our base typography. In this case, we're currently set to Poppins, and you could choose the one that suits you best. I'm going to be changing mine to Molly. And if I go back, I will change the headings to the same. Okay, so we could see the font style has just updated automatically in our preview, so we could see how that looks as we make the changes. Let's go back. Now let's look at the colors, and we could change our base color. So I'm going to be changing the base color that is fitting my brand. So I could click on theme color, then I could change the hex code for your brand color. So I could highlight this and change it to my brand color. And I'll do the same for the link color and the link hover color. Alright, I'm going to leave the text color as is, but if you wanted to change that as well, you could have done so. But I'll leave it as is, and I'll gonna just publish to save those changes. So you'll notice the icon is already changing color for my brand color, but you're seeing that this button here still has a different color. Here's where we could go and change that. If we go back, and if you come down to buttons, we'll see color. Let's choose color, the edit button here, and we have the normal background color. Let's change it. And we're also going to change the hover color. All right, but what you notice is that we're not seeing much of a variation in that case. So let's change the text color to our brand color. So we could see when we're hovering over our button. That's slight variation. Okay, so that looks good. Let's close that. We could also decide if we wanted to change the border or the button text, but I'm going to leave it as is for now, so it will inherit from our main font style. Let's go back. We could also update the container, and we could decide if we want the width to be wider. So we'll notice how the logo go farther out, but we'll leave it at 1200 so that it will fit on most monitors. We could also change the layout here by choosing if we wanted it to be content box or full width contained or full width stretch, but we'll leave it as boxed. You could also change the default page layout as well as the blog post layout and your archive layout. The WooCommerce layout as well could be updated as well, but we'll leave it as the default. Let's go back and back out again. The next thing we're going to look at is how we could update our logo or primary header and menus, and we could do that in the header section. If we click on header, let's come to site identity, and here's where we could change our logo. So we could click on the change logo button. I've already uploaded my logo, so I'm going to select it from the window and choose select. I'm going to skip the cropping. All right, and that is uploaded, but you could adjust the size for the size that fits you. I'm going to change mine to 160 pixel because that's the size it was originally designed for. You could also choose a retina logo, which is usually a higher resolution, and I'm going to choose this one here, which has a 320 pixels, so it's twice the size of my regular logo, which is 160 pixels wide. So this one is 320 pixels. Okay, as we scroll down, you could decide if you want to have a site icon, your title. This is not being displayed, so that is fine. So I'm going to leave it as is. And we could go back. Let's look at the primary header. So here we could decide if we want our logo to the center of the page or if we want it to the right of the page. I prefer it to the left, so I'm going to change it back. We could also decide on the mobile layout that we would want. Astra theme comes with the option to change your responsive mode right from the menu. So if you choose tablet icon to the bottom of the screen, you will see how it would look on a tablet, and we could change the layout. So if we click on the stacked layout, we'll see we have the logo to the center and then the icons, but I prefer it with the inline layout. You could also choose how it would look on a mobile device by clicking the mobile icon. So we'll see now how this looks on mobile, and we could scroll down and make adjustments to suit our preference. But let's go back to desktop view. Great, and let's go back. Let's look at our menus. If we choose primary menu, and we could decide how we want the primary menu to look. The first thing we could decide on is what do you want that last item in the menu to be, and since it's really a shop page, we have that cart icon that is there, which is the WooCommerce. You could set it to something else if you wanted it to be a search button instead, which change it to the search button, but in our case we will leave it as the WooCommerce icon. You could choose a widget or a button or so on, but let's choose WooCommerce. So here we could choose the border color, the divider color. We'll leave it as is. You also have some mobile menu options as well. So if you change this to mobile, and if you wanted to have a menu label, so if you, let's say, wanted to have the word menu, all right, so we will see it has the word menu here, but because of the size, it's pushing it to the second line. So that don't look that good. So let's take that out, and we'll just leave it as the toggle button only. And we could also change the toggle button style from fill to outline. We'll notice the icon changing now, but let's leave it as fill. And we'll see the toggle button fills up the color fills up the entire icon. Let's publish it. All right, let's look at how we could adjust our WooCommerce settings from within the customization window. So if we click the back button and come down to WooCommerce, and we could look at things like the store notice, the product catalog. Let's click on the product catalog. So this comes to our shop page, and we could decide if we want to show just the products or if we want to show the categories and the products. So if we choose categories and products, we'll see we have the categories first and then the products. But in our case, that don't look that well, especially if we don't have a photo for our categories. So let's just choose show products. You could decide on your sorting as well as the shop archive content width, what size you want that to be. You could decide how much columns you want to display as well. So if you change that, for example, to 4, we see how that looks, but I like it as 3. Let's change it back. You could also change how much products per page. So right now it's set to 9. If I change this to 12, we'll see some additional products are displayed, and then we have the pagination to the bottom. If you scroll down, you could then decide if you want to display your categories, your title and ratings on the product catalog page. So for example, if you want to show the description or the short description, if you click the I button, you will now see the short description displaying to the bottom of each product. But let's take that off. You could also decide if you want to put the add to cart button on the product catalog page as well. So if you check the I button, you will see that add to cart button being displayed on the shop page. But I'm going to take that off for now. And let's go back and let's look at the single product page. So on the single product, if I check the option, the main option that you would get here is to choose to disable or enable the breadcrumbs. So if I choose disable breadcrumbs, you'll see this section here that says home and mugs and so on disappears. If I uncheck it, it returns. But I like to leave those breadcrumbs. Let's go back. Let's look at the product images. And here's where we could set like that main image width for what we would like and how the custom ratio should be. But let's leave it as is. We could also look at the cart options if we want to enable cross-selling, and that makes sense. Let's leave it enabled so WooCommerce can manage that for us. And finally, the checkout page. Here we could set some options as to how we want our checkout page to be, but we're going to be using cart flows to manage our checkout page. We will look at that in the next video. Let's go back and back again. And finally, let's look at the menus. So we have our menus to the top here. We could click on main menu, and here's where we could decide the order of the menus that we would like. So for example, if we wanted the About Us page to be after the contact page, if we just move that down. All right, so we'll see that move to the front. I didn't really want to go to the front. Let's leave it all the way to the back. And we're now seeing that's now all the way to the back. You could also create additional pages or add new menu items from this window, but for now we will leave it as is. And for the most part, that's about the main settings that we'd want to configure. And so we now have all the main things in place for our store. Let's look at what we're going to be doing in the next video. But before we continue, let's choose Publish to ensure we save our changes. So in our next video, we're going to look at how we could customize our storefront, how we could change the home page, the layout, the fonts, and so forth. Secondly, we're going to look at how we could customize that checkout page using cart flows. So there you go. We've looked at how we could customize our WooCommerce page. We've also looked at customizing Astra options. So if this video was useful to you, remember to like the page, subscribe, and click that notification bell so when we add that new video, you'll be notified. In the next video, we're going to go further and get into customizing that page. So see you in the next one.